Okay, here it is. He's gonna do it. He's gonna turn him on. And Mark is with Cobell, and Helly's at the gala. Yes, here it comes. No! Hey everyone, it's Brent the Middleman, here today with my breakdown of Severance Episode 8. And this may be my favorite episode in a season full of great episodes. Here's your spoiler alert for all of Season 1 of Severance, and we got a lot to cover. So put on your Kier mask, sit quietly, and enjoy the strangely erotic show, because here we go. The episode begins with our first peek into the outie life of Irving. We learn that the popular theory of Irv being a painter was totally correct. I saw a number of commenters say that the black gunk under his fingernails and the black goo he would see covering his desk was paint, and if that was you, then I'm sure we will be seeing all the "I called it" comments soon. While finding out Irv's outie as a painter was cool, it was even more of a shock to see just what he was painting. We find out later in the episode that he's painting the hallway that leads to the, I think, any reset room. I'm wondering if that hallway leads to the coils of doom we saw on Petey's map. This tells me that not only does Irv's outie have great taste in music, but memories from his innie are leaking over. Irv must have been reset once or many times, and it is so traumatic that, unlike love, it transcends Severance. I will point out more foreshadowing of an impending reset for all our favorite innies later in the video. Back on the severed floor, the team anxiously waits for Helly to complete her project, which would mean they hit their quota and earn a waffle party. My next video will be going over the Lexington file that was released online, and I'll put a link to it in the description, where we learn a bit more about what they are doing with the numbers. The quick summary is that grouping the numbers may trigger some kind of terrorist-like incident. The former macro data refiner who sends the email and the release materials was working on a project called Lexington, just like Helly is working on one called Sienna. After completing the Lexington file, the person heard a news report that a competitor of Lumen's truck exploded. Is there a connection? What kind of damage will completing the Sienna project unleash? Anyway, Helly is able to complete the file, which means their plan to have Dylan stay behind and flip the innie switch is still a go. While Helly is boxing up her numbers, Cobell tells Milchek that she wants to schedule an end-of-the-quarter wellness sesh for Mark. Milchek isn't sure this is a great idea, and this is just another in a recent string of disagreements between the two managers. Cobell then uses Milchek's first name, Seth, and lets him know that she knows it's been a trying quarter, but he's availed himself well. She also tells him that Mr. Grainer sits with Kier now, and that they are both very satisfied with him. This doesn't seem to comfort Milchek though, so it appears he isn't the same kind of Kier freak that Cobell is. And who else loved the old school video game ending that was triggered when Helly completed her project? Digital Kier on a mountain saying, "I knew you could do it, Helly R." They all seem very touched and proud, and get very emotional when Kier says, I love you. Yes, his digital character stutters when saying it. Does this make it more impactful, more real? We jump to Mark in Cobell's office where they are doing the very true-to-life fake work laugh. Mark lets Cobell know that he wants Dylan to get the waffle party, and she seems surprised. But they move past it, and Cobell tells Mark about his wellness session. The scene ends with Cobell getting serious for a moment, and she tells Mark, "Thank you. Lumen needed this." What did Lumen need? What is the Sienna project going to do? Let me know what you think in the comments. Mark waits for his wellness session with Miss Casey and notices the quote from Kier that says, "Let not weakness live in your veins." Is this more motivation to go through with their plan? Inside the office, Mark notices that the tree is gone, and Miss Casey lets him know that she's been fired. Mark thinks this is his fault, and he takes it pretty hard. Miss Casey, who we now know is or looks just like, or is the clone of, Mark's dead wife Gemma, lets us know that she really liked the day she got to be in MDR. Her innie's entire life has only been 107 hours long, and most of that was spent in the half-hour wellness sessions. So the day she got to spend in MDR was the best thing that ever happened to her, and it was the longest she was ever awake. Well, now we know what a part-time innie is. an innie that is awoken for short tasks and then turned off. They don't get to spend 8 hours in a row each day learning and growing. Mark is really upset, and Miss Casey asks him, "Why do you care what happens to me?" And while Cobell watches on, Mark says, "Because we're people, not just parts of people. Even with what little they give us, these are our lives. Nobody gets to just turn you off." Miss Casey says, "You're nice, Mark." And this gets a reaction from Cobell, a sigh of satisfaction, I think. And then Miss Casey slips right back into the wellness speech. Milchek is with Cobell and tells her that it's good they don't remember each other. It means the chip works. Wow, this is incredibly cruel. Then Cobell, a little frustrated, tells Milchek to take Miss Casey back down to the testing floor. Milchek walks Miss Casey to the dark hallway on the testing floor, the same hallway we saw Irv's Audi painting in the beginning. Does this hallway lead to the Coils of Doom? Is this where the innies get reset? How many times has this been done to Irving? He has obviously been there before, and it was traumatic enough to transcend Severance and haunt even his Audi. Does the reset procedure feel like a dark goo being dumped on your old memories? Is this what Irv is seeing and painting? Miss Casey stops and asks Milchek if her Audi is happy up there. He says, "Of course, you do all sorts of wonderful things." Total stock answer, and I don't even think the 107-hour-old Miss Casey buys it. But she walks on, and we will probably have to wait until next season to find out what happens at the end of that hallway. Mark heads back to MDR and lets everyone know that the waffle party is all set and that Miss Casey was fired. Mark seems to be having second thoughts about the plan, but Milchek shows up with the pre-waffle party egg bar social cart, which understandably distracts everyone. Milchek gives Dylan the special gift he requested, and he shows the team. They seem touched, and we find out later that he had their group picture engraved. This makes their impending mind wipe even more sad. Helly is surprised by how good the eggs are, while Milchek awkwardly walks around taking photos. Mark and Helly share a look and a smile before we jump over to Cobell being ambushed by the PR lady. She has pictures of Helly R attempting suicide, and Cobell thinks Milchek gave her the photos. The board also knows that Cobell has been spending time with Mark's sister, and they fire her. Cobell is upset and asks if the board is even there, and a super creepy "yes" comes out of the speaker. There was definitely something strange about the voice. It sounds almost sickly, or if it took a lot of effort to speak. Does Severance do more than wipe memories? Can it keep people alive? We've seen Mark's dead wife come back to life as Miss Casey. Does the Severance chip keep the brain from dying somehow? Are all the Egans still around as members of the board? Man, I hope we get to see this gala next episode, and I'll explain at the end why I'm pretty sure I'll get my wish. Irv stares at a portrait of Kier, then reads a passage from the compliance book that looks like a Bible or an encyclopedia, I guess. Irv has had it with Kier and crushes his deviled egg in the book. Yep, symbolism. Helly tells Mark that she believes the goats lay the eggs because, like us, they still cannot figure out any other reason for there to be an office full of baby goats. Mark and Helly share a moment where Mark is worried that the plan will fail and they will never wake up as innies again. We forget that them getting fired from Lumen means death to the innie, just like Bert G's retirement meant innie death. Wow, pretty high stakes. Milchek calls an end to the egg party because he's got to go escort Cobell from the building. This gives the gang a chance to do final preparations. They talk about how they don't know where they'll be when they wake up, maybe driving or skiing or around people, so they need to be ready and then find people they can trust. How exactly are they going to do that or know who to trust? Mark then pulls out Rickon's book and starts to read the passage. Our job is to taste free air. Your so-called boss may own the clock that taunts you from the wall, but my friends, the hour is yours. Dylan even finishes this last line, showing Mark that he's been reading from it as well, and hilariously says, page 197 slaps. God, I love Dylan. And Rickon being the innie's hero is probably my favorite part of the show, and I so hope they all get to meet him. They go to the elevator to leave for the day, with Irv leaving first. Before the doors close, he says, "Okay, kids, let's see what's for dinner." This is the episode title, and also reminds us that the innies have never actually eaten dinner. Helly asks Mark if he thinks they'll meet their spouses out there, and how funny it would be if they were married to each other and they wake up in the middle of a dumb argument. Well, we know if they're married, they won't wake up during sex. Helly's about to leave when she jumps out of the elevator and kisses Mark, just in case they don't come back, or in case they do. Dylan does his final preparations to flip the switch when Milchek comes back to walk him to the waffle party, which takes place in Kier's house in the Perpetuity Wing. As Audi Mark leaves the building, he notices they are setting up for the Egan family gala, which is happening this same night. Dylan, holding his gift, walks into Kier's house and sees his plate of waffles on the table. He pours syrup on just half of the waffle stack, symbolizing his two halves. We jump to Cobell driving home, and she isn't too happy about losing her job. She is pissed at the PR lady, and I wouldn't be surprised if in future seasons Cobell tries to take her out. Back to Dylan finishing his waffles, and the empty plate tells him to go to the founder's bed. He glances over at a bust of Kier, which is like the third or fourth Kier image we have seen this episode. Is this a hint that the sickly old voice we heard from the board speaker was somehow Kier? I'm definitely leaning that way. In Kier's bedroom, Dylan sees a Kier mask sitting on the bed. He puts it on and sits down, holding his gift. Next to the mask is a cat and nine tails whip, and on each of the tails we see one of the 9 core values. The last time we saw a whip like this was in the portrait of Kier whipping the goat and ladies outside of the wellness area. It turns out that the waffle party is a recreation of this portrait and is just as creepy as you'd think. Dylan sits with the mask, and in come the strippers. Each of the women are wearing their own creepy masks. There's the jester, the goat, the bride, and the old lady. The last time we saw the jester head was on Cobell's Kier shrine, which she goes home and destroys. The dancers take the exact pose that we saw in the portrait, and I guess Dylan was supposed to whip them, but he had already gotten up to go on his mission. We know Dylan has gotten a waffle party before. Did he whip everyone? What exactly happens after that? Back in Audi Land, Mark invites Mrs. Selvig, to Rickon's book release party, setting the stage for any Mark to wake up with his crazy boss and his hero all in the same place. Audi Irving gets back to his house, pats his dog, and pours his late night coffee, getting ready to paint. Back at the party, Mark tells Devin that he is thinking of making some life changes. Later, he tells Mrs. Selvig, aka Cobell, that he is thinking of quitting Lumen, and he feels like he doesn't need Severance anymore. Cobell seems really happy about this and tells him to quit. I still can't figure out their connection and why she has taken such an interest in him. Is she just happy that Severance got him over his wife's death? Is she not over her mother's death and she's thinking of trying it out? Or is Cobell Mark's mom? Then how come Devin doesn't know her? Is Devin severed too? Or is Cobell in love with Mark and that's why she won't tell him about his wife being alive? At the office, Dylan starts the process of bringing the innies to life in the outside world. This scene is cool as we get to see some of the other things they can do to the innies. There is one called GOLDFISH and LULLABY and Open House. I'm thinking GOLDFISH gives them short-term memories and LULLABY knocks them out, but Open House? Do they just talk about everything on their minds and can't hide anything? I also saw Beehive, Branch Transfer, Clean Slate, Elephant, Freeze Frame, and Glasgow. With Beehive, maybe they all work together or protect a queen? Branch Transfer I can't really figure out. Clean Slate must wipe their memories. Elephant may make them remember everything they see. Freeze Frame would be awesome. They just stop wherever they are maybe. But Glasgow? Glasgow is a city in Scotland, and I've heard of a Glasgow kiss, which is headbutting someone. Will it make them fight somebody? Let me know in the comments what you think Glasgow could mean. Dylan gets everything prepared, but he can't reach the switch. That's when we get a flash of Helly at a dinner party, and my guess is that she's at the gala. So it does look like we will see the gala next episode, and I've been theorizing all along that she's an Egan. I mean, I even put it in one of my first thumbnails, so this could be correct. At the very least, she is someone very important at the company or married to someone very important, and she is going to be in an awkward place when she wakes up. But we won't find out till next week, as this is where the episode ends. What a great hour of television. I was on the edge of my seat at the end. I can't wait to find out what happens, and this has quickly become one of my favorite shows to watch. As always, let me hear all your theories in the comments, and I'll be back this weekend with a video on the Lexington file that was released online. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, as it really helps out the channel. Thanks again for watching. I'm Brent the Middleman, and I'll see you next time.